backs against the wall, 12 rounds to fall if I can't stand tall.
You better at this. Okay, that's cool.
Good evening. Good evening. We are back with Let Your Words Count. This is the Let Your Words Count podcast, bringing to you the words that, shape our lives, the fabric of our lives. Remember that? Cotton, the fabric of our lives. These are the words that shape our lives, the Let Your Words Count podcast. My name is Mike. I'm here with Gary and Ethan and a very, very, very special guest. Get ready to switch the cameras. The incomparable, the one and only Mrs. Tamara. Oh, we got to get some celebration music. Hey, Tamara.
Hey.
How are you this evening?
Doing great.
Good. So you are a regular, you tune in regularly to the podcast,
Yep.
right? You watch pretty much every week.
Yes.
Thank you for that, by the way.
Yep.
And so this week you've decided to join us and join the conversation with us.
Yes.
So we're excited to have you.
Excited
I
to
know
learn.
that you're going to have some great input. You usually have some really good comments whenever you
Thanks.
comment. So without too much further ado, first thing we're going to remind you guys to do is like, share, and subscribe if you have not done so already. Don't forget to send this to a friend who may be interested in the type of content that we put out. Also, check out LYWC.channel on all social media. Check out egprodx.com, which is Ethan's website.
Yes, sir.
For music, merch, and a bunch of other stuff. It's really cool. Go check it out, egprodx.com. This is episode 61 of the Let Your Words Count podcast. And today we have a word that is my word. Absolutely. I brought this one to the table. Today's word is meta-cognition. Meta-cognition. And I think this is going to be a really interesting conversation. It's going to be something that may present some challenges to us and stretch us so that we can grow. Without any further ado, we're going to jump right into the definition, the etymology, and the emotional lens for the word metacognition.
Let's go.
G, you want to hit us with the definition?
Absolutely. We got metacognition is the awareness and the understanding of one's own thought processes. It's the ability to observe, evaluate, and regulate how you think.
Okay, Ethan was talking to me. Can you run that back one more time?
Sir, absolutely. Metacognition is the awareness and understanding of one's own thought processes. It's the ability to observe, evaluate, and regulate how you think.
Love it.
Alrighty.
All right, next is our etymology.
Yep, there you go.
Okay, I'll do the etymology here.
Local language expert.
Yes, I am the resident language expert for the Let Your Words Count podcast. The etymology or the history of the word metacognition, the origin is from the Greek meta, meaning beyond or above, and cognition from the Latin, cognoscere, or to know. Metacognition literally means knowing about knowing. I like that. I've never heard that. I've never heard it put that way. Okay, last thing we're going to do is the emotional lens, and then we'll get into our conversation.
Oh, yeah.
I hope you're ready, Tamara.
Sure.
I'm just talking.
So the emotional lens, which is my favorite, is the feeling positive side, the positive and negative side. So the positive is awareness, clarity, empowerment, and self-control. The negative side is overthinking, self-criticism, if misused. And why? When we don't notice our thoughts, they control us. Metacognition gives us choice.
I love that. Can you read that last sentence?
Yep. So when we don't notice our thoughts, they control us. Metacognition gives us choice.
That's perfect.
That's powerful.
That's perfect.
That's powerful. Who wants to start us off with that one?
How did this word come to your mind? Or were you introduced to it?
Okay, that's a good question. There's a framework called Bloom's taxonomy of thought. It's also known as the hierarchy of thought.
Yes.
And I guess we can dive into that in just a moment. But over the last significant portion of time in my life, I've gone through and started to think about the way that my mind works. Part of what I do for a living is comes with a deep understanding of psychology, and then what I am doing in my personal life comes with a deep understanding of psychology, and because of those facts, I spend a lot of time studying psychology. I try my best to get a pretty good understanding of the human mind, human behavior, things like that. Anyway, the word metacognition really kind of encompasses the inner part of that, if that makes sense. So obviously, like I said, what I do for work deals with psychology, and that's fine, but that doesn't really matter in terms of metacognition. The metacognition is when I am working on growing, developing, and evolving my own self for, the purposes of becoming the better version of myself. So anyway, looking through, dozens of resources, books, videos, podcasts, listening to thinkers and people who are much smarter than I am or who have much more experience than I do. The word metacognition kind of circulated a few times. And when I started thinking about the path that the podcast is taking, when we first started, it was kind of just getting into understanding general terms that we use. And I realized that we are getting a lot from that. And so I also thought about what our listeners may be getting from it. And so if we're talking about things like growth, things like peace, things like, a lot of the words that we've covered, I think metacognition needs to be among them, maybe if not first among them. Simply because thinking about the way that we think will help us to basically do everything else in life. So I don't want to take up too much time with just that, but that's the reason why. And so I said, well, this is something that's really been a benefit to me, understanding this concept and using it in my daily life. Maybe we can together bring it to first of all, discuss it and grow amongst ourselves, but also share it with the people who listen to us.
That's good.
What you been thinking about, G?
No, this is something I think I came across the concept. I'm not sure if there's something wrong with my mic or my headphones. Came across the concept a while ago, but I think the word is new to me. But in studying meditation and other just spiritual books and stuff like that, because one of the phrases that I found relative to the I think it was to the etymology, and one way it kind of analyzed that was like when you said like the literal translation of the word, this other one was saying going above your thoughts to observe it. So it's kind of like a different way they kind of explain the process of it. So I think that's something I was exposed to, like with meditation, like just to
becoming the observer.
Yeah. So the idea of when you're sitting in silence and then just watching for what thoughts come through your mind. You know what I mean? Because I never looked at them as separate until I sat there and kind of sat back and then noticed just all the little random stuff going through your head. You know what I mean? So that kind of made me start, thinking about it and looking like that's odd, because it felt different looking at your thoughts from that perspective. Like it wasn't you driving it. When you realize that you're trying to sit in quiet, in silence, and your mind is still racing, it just kind of really changed the way I started approaching things like meditation, studying, and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think that's an incredibly great place to start off the conversation, is by first recognizing that you are not your thoughts,
Right.
and vice versa. Your thoughts are not you. Your thoughts are your brain, well, depending on who you ask,
Yes.
or depending on your school of thought or belief system. Your thoughts, like you said, they come and go. They're literally like, I heard somebody phrase it this way. They said, imagine yourself as a stone sitting in a river. Your thoughts are the water that's running past you because they come and go. We choose sometimes to hold on to thoughts that can be beneficial or damaging to us, whether we agree with them or hold on to them or let them pass or whatever. But to your point, meditation, and some people meditate and some people don't. That's neither here nor there. But what meditation actually is number one, focusing on being present, and number two, allowing your mind to be still and let the thoughts run past. Most people think that it's turning your brain off and not having any thoughts at all, but that's not really what it is. It's allowing your thoughts to run past and observing them. That was an interesting thing. Without judgment, right?
Yes.
Observance without judgment is what really creates an effective meditation. So I think that's a great place to start, because looking at those thoughts and just thinking about, that's an interesting thing that I'm thinking, or that's something that if I thought it 5 years ago, it may have hurt my feelings, or it may have made me feel cocky or arrogant. But now I can observe it as just something that's passing by that I don't have to hold on to. We choose which thoughts we cling to and agree to.
I love it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So, just a quick thing that you said about meditating on the present. I think that's absolutely phenomenal. And I don't think that we give ourselves enough allegiance and time to do that, right? Because of the busyness and the distractions that we find ourselves in society and many, many other things. It's so funny. So when you said something about like the stone in a river, and the flow and the water goes over, or the brain is like a stone in the river, and the water, and the currents are flowing over that. Yeah,
those are the
stone.
thoughts. Yeah,
those are the thoughts. How do you get someone to recognize and to believe that? You know what I'm saying? Because in a world where because if this makes sense, we live in a society where you own your thoughts. Well, we were taught that we own our thoughts in some type of way. Yep. So you come along and you say, hey, you are not your thoughts. How do you translate that? Does that make sense? Yeah, go ahead. The reason why I'm bringing that out is because so we can help people that's online to help them.
Or ourselves.
And ourselves. Beautiful. And that's the thing is that concept is deep. And I would like to get your understanding of that thought out to the world, so to speak. And take your time, brother.
Yeah, that might take a second to you gotta.
I got a thought.
I saw you lean up. Yeah.
Only because again, what I ran into when I first started, the thing that helped me be able to kind of separate, I guess, my personality from the thoughts that are coming through is, again, when you try to start meditating and all the different things you'll hear when you first started, whoever you're listening to about the concept, right? Set a timer on your phone for 5 minutes and set an intention or a concept or a topic to think about for 5 minutes. And intend on, during that 5 minutes, and this is especially good if it's your first time doing it, say you're not going to think about anything else but that one thing, and then sit in silence with no distractions, no TV on, no radio, no nothing, sitting in silence, and then try to see how easily you can really keep control of that one thought. Yeah. And when you notice over time how many different things come into your mind, when you're intending to keep your mind focused on one thing and how many other things run through, that's when I started to kind of realize there's more at play than just what I'm driving. You know what I mean? Like, there's the busyness that's there, the things that pop up that give you concerns, worry, whatever, all those things that start running through when you're like, I'm trying to focus on this one thing, but here are these other thoughts coming in. That's when it allowed me to kind of have I'm not going to say a distinction, but again, that observer effect. You know what I mean? That I can sit back and say, okay, these are just random things going through my mind, not all intentionally originating from me. It's coming from your body, obviously. but you can kind of have some control and separation and look at what's going through your mind without feeling so attached to it with that kind of experience, if that makes sense.
See, that's interesting. You were about to say something, Mike?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Let me ask this real quick. So, with that thought, that example that you brought up right there, I think that's interesting because because what I want to do is create a healthy place within my mind when those extra thoughts come. You see what I'm saying? A healthy place that in my meditation I'm not disrupted, and maybe that's what that meditation is all about. It's a muscle. It's when you exercise that muscle, you end up recognizing those thoughts that don't necessarily need to be there, right? But a lot of people give into that. You know what I'm saying? But when you say that when you say that you're not your thoughts, when you say that you're not your thoughts, that is, and I want to stay there. I want to stay there because a lot of people don't understand how valuable that is because people move by the thoughts. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I agree with you. To your point about creating I think you said a safe space, a healthy space. Yeah. I mean, a lot of people's minds, frighten them when it's quiet, when there is no distractions. Yes. The thoughts that come can feel pretty dark or dangerous or scary or maybe 100%. Just hurtful in some other way. The reason why it took me a minute to think about what my answer is, and I don't purport to know every detail of all of this, I'm still learning. There's a long way to go. But the reason why it took me a while to really think about what my response would be is because I know that there are multiple ways to approach it. Mm-hmm. There's the natural scientific answer to that question, and then there is the spiritual answer to that question, which, to be fair, probably has several answers within itself. But I think that the easiest way to get somebody who is kind of at a different part of their journey to understanding certain things is to realize that our brains are machines that constantly figure out ways to, number one, survive, to reproduce. I mean, think about the most primitive parts of our minds. We're designed to think about things that keep us alive, to keep our family bloodline moving forward, and other things like to find food and safety and shelter and water and things like that. Every memory, every experience that we have, every fear that we have, every concern that we have for the future, every challenge that we have in any relationships, all of these things are on our minds subconsciously pretty much all the time. And so when you try to allow your mind to be quiet and think about, try to do a math equation in your head, just anything that you try to focus your attention on, like you said, if you set a timer, it's amazing how many thoughts will come and just zoo, 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 zoo. You'll think about one thing and then you'll set yourself back on track, and then another thing comes from another place and you put yourself back on track, and it happens over and over and over. And that's why I said it's a muscle. And it's something that we have to kind of exercise in terms of repetition in order to get better at it. It never really stops. Yeah. You always have thoughts, but you get better at staying on task at getting back to task a little more effectively or efficiently.
I totally agree with that.
But anyway, our brains, like I said, are constantly firing with, okay, I'm sitting here, but I know that I need to make dinner. Or I'm sitting here and I know that, tomorrow I'm going to have that uncomfortable conversation with my boss. Or I'm sitting here and I know that my girlfriend is upset with me about this or that thing. I'm sitting here and I told myself I would go to the gym at this time. I'm sitting here and I know I could be doing laundry. I'm sitting here and, my favorite TV show is going away from Netflix in a week. I need to get through the rest of the series.
Very real.
Yeah, exactly.
Very real trauma.
It's constant bombardment. Yes. Oh, I'm hungry. Oh, when was the last time I took my multivitamin? I mean, like anything you could think of will just shoot past your mind. But that's because our brains are constantly feeding us information to say, is this taken care of? Is that taken care of? Is this handled? Should we be afraid of this? Is this a threat? Is this a benefit? Is this a blessing? Is it a curse? And blah, blah, blah. but those are the synapses that our brain is wired to do. I am not my brain, and neither are you. I'm the soul that lives in this body. And so if I recognize the separation there, like I'm not this body, this is my body. I'm operating it, I'm driving,
Right.
But the point is that the brain is a part of the system of this body,
Correct.
which means that the thoughts that are generated here are not me. They may be my thoughts, but that is not me. So that's kind of what I'm saying.
So when you say me, are you talking about essence, soul?
Yes, I'm talking about the soul that is me.
Gotcha.
The eternal part of each of us is what I'm referring to.
Beautiful.
And so the thoughts are a product, like I said, of the body, of the brain, of memories and concerns and worries and joys and pains and things like this. That's where those thoughts come from. That's what generates those thoughts. And if I'm the soul that is the stone that is sitting here and I let the thoughts go past, I can choose which of those I decide to hold on to. And 99% of them are probably just going to, flow past.
See, the reason why
But one other thing.
Go ahead.
One other thing. Like Gary said, I notice them all. And I notice them, whether they're joyful thoughts, whether they're painful thoughts, whether they're hurtful, whether they're whatever. I notice them without judgment. It's so important to remember that part. Because we have, there's a really popular phrase lately, intrusive thoughts.
Yeah.
Everybody, y'all heard of that? People using that term?
Yeah.
Yes.
We all have them.
Yep.
For instance, I don't know if you're from Arizona, so I'm assuming you've been to the Grand Canyon.
I have been through it, but not to it.
Okay. So have you ever been on a tall ledge or at the top of some scary crevasse?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Ooh. Some scary, like that one?
Etymology.
Are you familiar with the term the call of the void?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. That's an intrusive thought
Yes.
that mostly all people experience.
Yes.
But it's a whole lot of us that haven't jumped. And you know why? Because we've realized that that's a thought I don't want to hold on to.
Yeah. Very good.
It comes across,
Powerful,
and I can observe it without judgment because I know that's not me. I'm not the guy that's going to dive. I got a lot to live for.
Right. Yeah.
And so I let it pass. But those are thoughts that come to us all day, every day. Even when we're sleeping, our brains are doing that.
Very good. Very good. Very good. Tamara, you got something on your mind?
Oh, yeah, I was going to say, that was great. The thing that stops us most of the time is because of something that we value. And that thought, I guess, comes in front of that thought. And you're like you said, I have more things to live for.
Yes.
And so
Very good.
you observed the thought, you felt it, you didn't like it, then you threw it in the trash and you decided, you know what, I got something else that I want to go finish or something like that.
Yeah,
Very
exactly.
good. Very
Yeah,
good.
that's a very good point. A lot of times intrusive thoughts are easily overpowered by, like you said, just thinking of things that are prioritized above whatever the call of the void is calling for.
Very good. Very good.
And that's exactly like you said. That's a thought that I hold on to. The thing that, when I think of, a loved one, that's a thought that I can cling to and I hold on to it and I let the other ones pass,
I was saying something earlier about, or I was thinking something earlier about a stone, a rock, and even with how dense a stone is, water still can get through it, like cinder blocks. I had a flood in my basement a couple of months ago, and we figured it out. But basically, if it's enough pressure against the wall, water is going to seep through.
Hydrostatic pressure.
Hydrostatic pressure. Beautiful, man. So the thing is that you're making my point even more clear, right? So even when those thoughts flow through and over you, so to speak, right? There's still water that you are allowing to come in. Those thoughts that you are allowing to come in are the ones that you want to keep while you're allowing the other stuff to go through. So we have control of what we allow to be absorbed in, and you can reject. And that's
right.
The beautiful part.
And it also is important to remember, I think, that a lot of the thoughts we can create.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to just be waiting for the right thought to come to us.
That's very good.
We can generate thought very easily. Like, for instance, if I say, all right, guys, all three of you, nobody think about Elmo.
Right.
So now we're all thinking about Elmo.
Yeah.
But that's something that
Immediately.
we can do that for ourselves. We generate thought if we are intentional with it, and then it just makes it that much easier to allow
Very good, man.
thoughts that we don't necessarily want to hang on to go past.
And it makes it that much more important for us to take control of what we choose because of all of the influences around us every day.
Exactly. The problem is always choice. We just watched The Matrix a couple days ago. Yeah, for the 500,000th time.
Right.
So I love the saying about without judgment. I think that's a powerful feature that we should explore a little bit more. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because judgment it can be crippling, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we don't realize, we think that judgment is something to distinguish or separate good for bad or whatever the case may be. It can go, you could take it down a hallway of many, or a corridor of many things, right? But when we're talking about metacognition and why you're thinking what you're thinking, and when judgment is there, it's an opportunity to evaluate and examine. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's a very, very good point or exercise that we can do. Handle it. You know what I'm saying? Look at it, observe it, handle it. You know what I mean? And why are you here to begin with? You know what I'm saying? Where'd you come from? You know, where that thought? Because I know when I have like those metacognitive thoughts, you know, I always like, where'd that come from? Like, you know what I'm saying? Why am I even thinking there? But also, yeah, go ahead, bro.
No, go ahead. You
No,
said
no,
also.
I was just going to say this world. No, go ahead. Because I
Well, I was
don't
just
want
gonna
you to lose
say,
your thought.
even that could be considered judgment.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
because if you say
Yes.
why am I even thinking like that, then that implies that that's a bad thought or something that's wrong. You're judging it to be good or bad or you know, right or wrong, as opposed to
Interesting.
just saying, okay, that's a thought that came to me and I let it go. Whether it's good or bad or otherwise. But I think
That's interesting.
what I've kind of associated to what you're talking about with going without judgment or noticing or observing without judgment is understanding the voice of our own conscience or our inner voice. I think I've talked to you about this before, kind of my thoughts on it. A lot of times the voice of our conscience is, you know, one that can be critical or judgmental or one that tends to scold us internally and things like that. Part of metacognition, obviously it spans why, which is why I love the word. But part of it is changing that inner voice from the voice that it has been. So we were all raised by somebody, you know. Not many human beings are growing up being raised by wolves and things like that. So we're talking parents, foster parents, you know, grandparents, uncles, aunts, siblings. We're raised to a certain degree by all of these people, these authority figures in our lives: pastors, priests, teachers, you know, teachers at school. Like, there's so many people who influence us as we're growing up and developing. And along the way, at some point, most of us develop an inner voice, or the voice of our conscience, or the voice that critiques what we do, as one of those voices. For mine, it was a combination between both of my parents. And I can say that because, you know, they are right. They'll, you know, but part of understanding thought, part of thinking about thought, is noticing that, paying attention to it. And then, like I said, we can incept our own thoughts, and then changing that voice of consciousness to become our own voice. A lot of times we think of, you know, the still small voice being the voice of God, when yes, it should be. But in a lot of cases, it's the interpretation of God that we received from somebody else, and we hear God's voice in their voice almost. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, you know, you'll say, you'll think about maybe some sort of, I don't know, shortcoming or failure in your life. And instead of thinking about what you are really concerned about with that particular failure, you may think of what what one of your parents may think, or what one of their what they would say if they knew what was happening. You know what I mean? That type of thing. And that becomes the voice of a lot of our conscience, and it saps us of freedom of thought.
I agree.
You know, I can't think as freely as I would if I'm hearing it as if I'm hearing my thoughts as a dialogue between some authority figure that may be, that I assume would be critical in this situation, because that goes against observing without judgment. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. I hope that made sense. Yeah, but I think that's I'm getting there. Really big step.
I think I'm getting there, and am I there yet? Totally, I don't know. Right?
I don't know if any of us are. Bro.
Yeah. So the thing is, in my mind, I told Tamara that I know I'm going down a certain path, right? And I know it's a growing pain, right? And that judgment word is, and not only the word, but the operation of that word is limiting to me.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
It's hard to overcome.
And that's the reason why when you're saying that, Ethan, even what you did right there with your thought right there, like asking the question, why are you here? That actually creates a form of judgment with that question alone. And I'm thinking to myself, like, so now that I have that thought in my head, in my mind, why are you there to begin with? So now I have to ask the question, why did I ask that question?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes, exactly. And that's metacognition. Where did that thought come from? What causes me to think about my thoughts in a judgmental way?
Exactly.
Where did that come from? Who taught me that? Because that's not innate. You weren't born with that. You're born with, whatever comes to mind, I just go with. Now, obviously, we got to learn how to reel that in a little bit. Yeah. But we aren't born with the ability or the inclination to judge ourselves.
That's powerful.
To be critical of our thoughts or actions. We aren't born that way. No baby you've ever met second guesses anything. You know what I mean?
I think one of the things, Tamara can attest to this, but I've been doing a lot of research on Carl Jung, right? Mm-hmm. And so he's dealt with schizophrenics, and different things. Even he himself have went down dark places in the shadow of the conscience and different things like that, right? And so he explored places and have the archetypes and different things like that that's been created, that he actually delved into a place where he saw all types of things. You see them. Have I done that yet? No. Right. Will I do that? You never know. And I think maybe I have already, and I just didn't realize it. You see what I'm saying? So you understand what I'm saying? So I think that this conversation that we're having is valuable to me, in the sense that the words that we've already used previously, like you said, I've almost wanted to use metacognition as a foundation to truly understand the words that's causing us to be who we are right now. You know what I'm saying? And our choice of who do we want to be tomorrow? Yeah. And then the next day.
Yes, because that's what it's all about. That's exactly what it's about, is making a decision today, making a decision in this moment for the person I will be in the moments to come. The very next moment, tomorrow, 5 years from now. I make decisions right now with that person in mind, because that helps me to move along that path. But going back to what you meant, or what you mentioned about Carl Jung, I've studied Carl Jung as well, and metacognition, there's his part of his school of thought is shadow work, which I think you kind of touched on. And shadow work simply is, and I'm only bringing this up because I want it to be clear for anybody that's listening that may have heard you say that and didn't quite know, and maybe dismisses it without a second thought.
Go ahead, brother.
Shadow work simply is acknowledging the reality of the parts of ourselves that we would not like to be in control. So essentially what that means is Let's say, for instance, I have a propensity to lie or steal, right? If that's a part of my nature, I can observe that part of my nature without judgment, without ever acting on it. I can observe the fact that I have a tendency to get angry about certain things without allowing myself to get angry. I'm not judgmental of it. That's a part of me, right? It is what it is. It's not going anywhere. I'm not going to not be angry when something triggers me. But shadow work is about understanding how to not even necessarily remain in control of that, but understanding that that's a part of me that I don't necessarily need to even be active. You know what I'm saying?
Totally agree. I totally understand it.
Yeah, and so that's literally what it is. Shadow work is addressing and acknowledging those parts of ourselves and accepting it as reality, and then living life knowing that we have those propensities or those parts of ourselves. That's really all it is. You know what I'm saying?
And I think that's the key part, because the aspect of shadow work, like you said, is that it might be something we consider dark or undesirable, but if it's there, you can't address it if you don't acknowledge it.
That's exactly right. That's the whole point.
Yeah. You can't begin growth. You can't begin healing for something that you don't even acknowledge is there.
Yeah.
So you, in that internal review and investigation and studying and everything else, you come across something that's maybe, like you said, not in line with your ideal person, then it's like looking at it and acknowledge first, okay, it's there.
Yeah.
I have to deal with it. You can't overcome, you can't grow beyond, you can't repair, you can't progress if you don't acknowledge that this is there and that I have to deal with it and address it. So approaching something that you see this a propensity to lie and say, no, I don't do that. Well, then you're never going to be able to actually heal and integrate.
Exactly right.
What direction do you want to go going forward? Because you can't reconcile with the fact that you have this thing already there that you need to address. Right. So the shadow work it's scary for some people. It makes them feel dirty, makes them feel like they're less than.
And it sounds dark the way that it's labeled.
It does. But it's absolutely something that if you're going to have any kind of growth or progress at all, you have to deal with it. Have to.
Yeah, 100%. One other thing I want to just quickly drop in there is the reason why a lot of people feel like it's too scary to address is because in most cases, we're used to outsourcing that. Instead of taking accountability for those parts of myself and saying I am going to look within and work with myself within the parameters that I have to address this thing or that thing, we say I'm going to wait for a deliverance, or I'm going to I'm going to expect that some other source, and I'm saying it that way intentionally because I'm not specifically aiming this at religion or things like that. But almost all of us outsource it, whether we believe in religion or psychics or tarot or, the old gods, whatever you believe in. A lot of people are waiting for the things that are our own responsibility to be accessed from some outside
I totally agree
source.
with that, brother. You about to say something, babe?
Yeah, I was gonna. What you said made me think of like Alcoholics Anonymous.
Yes.
Where confession is where you start to heal.
Exactly.
And you can only confess what you confront.
Yeah.
One of your words that you guys had.
That's freaking
And
very
so,
good.
like, talking to Ethan, like, some time ago, he noticed something. He noticed I was off. He asked me, like, what's wrong? And I was like, I was going to say fine, like a lot of women do. A lot of everybody, maybe.
Right.
And so, but I was like, no, I'm not going to say fine. I'm going to just put it out there, even though I didn't like what I was feeling. And he was like, okay, well, I'm glad you said something. And so then we were able to talk it out, and I'm like, I should be able to tell my husband.
Sure.
And so I remember, not to try to keep it the way someone told me. They said, your husband is who you share your body with, so you should be able to share your mind with. And if you can't, then something's not right, then y'all need to go get some help.
Yeah, 100%.
So confession, though, like,
Yes,
I think you had,
that's very good.
somebody had said, I wrote it down. I think Gary said it. You can't heal what you refuse to address.
That's awesome.
Yes, 100%. So to your point, that fits so perfectly, the alcoholics thing, because like I mentioned, once we find these things and we start to address them, it's not that they are eliminated and that they don't exist anymore, which is exactly why you hear alcoholics that have been clean for 20 years say, I am an alcoholic and I'm 20 years sober. Not I used to be, because it's still a part. If they started taking a sip, they're going to go all the way. You know, because that's who they are. They have acknowledged that part of themselves, and they've, number one, accepted that reality about themselves, and they've learned how to move without allowing that part of themselves to be in the driver's seat.
Go ahead, G. I see you lifting up.
Go ahead.
No, I'm good, man. I think this is something that I have to stew on a little bit more. And the thing is what's awesome is that just last week, was it last week? No, the week before, we talked about pausing. And pausing is a part of that metacognition that's pretty strong. And when you are able to pause and really absorb what's going on, and that judgment, which I'm still working out in my brain, is so vital to me, to remove that out of the way so you can really see and state what's present as is. You know what I'm saying? This is what it is.
You know what helps me with the judgment piece? Is observing Jesus.
Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect example. I haven't come across a better example.
I agree.
Remember, for those of us who are familiar with the story of Jesus' crucifixion, remember when he told Peter before the crucifixion, he said, you're going to deny me. It's going to happen. And Peter denied it up and down.
Yeah, he sure did.
And then as soon as the opportunity came for him to deny him, he did exactly what he said he was going to do. And then after that, when Peter came back and Jesus, got connected with Peter, what'd he say? Do you love me? Isn't that the very next conversation that they had?
Yeah.
Do you love me? If you love me, do this thing, that thing. Feed my sheep.
Feed my sheep.
You know? It was never any scolding. It was never any judgment. It was never a harsh tone, a harsh word. Every interaction we see in the entire saga of Jesus' life, any interaction he had with anybody who we would have had something negative to say about, or at least a negative thought about, he embraced them with compassion. And if we learn how to do that for ourselves, then it's way easier to do it with other people. But the point is to be able to start by doing that with ourselves.
I love that.
And so, the woman that was caught in adultery, she was caught. She was guilty, red-handed.
Yeah.
And what did he say to her? Where are the people who have accused you?
Yeah. Go
Where are your accusers? He didn't say, I'm accusing you. He didn't say, you know better. He didn't say nothing. He didn't say, why did you do that?
Right.
See what I'm saying? That's judgment. What he said was,
very good, man.
Where are your accusers? I don't see them, and I'm not one of them.
Yeah.
So go ahead. Go and sin no more. Sin is a betrayal of one's own. I don't want to get into that.
I know what you mean. Though.
It's okay.
But he said, go and sin no more.
Yeah. That's a release.
Nothing but compassion. No judgment. No harsh tones. Not a single critical word. The only time Jesus was critical was when he was talking to people who were self-righteous.
Yes.
And that's a completely different thing.
I agree with that. So to go back to a thought process of this judgment, and Jesus like being the perfect example, of non-judgment in that regard, right? I think that within my mind, that question you said is powerful, and I'm trying to think what are other questions that I can come up to trigger me to say, Ethan, you're judging right now. What are more questions that I can practice within my psyche that when it triggers, I can say, okay, Ethan, that's not the path you want to go, right? That's judgment. And that judgment is going to birth this type of action. You understand what I'm saying? So as you were talking and you talking about when Jesus came to Peter, the word that hit in my head was peace. So when judgment is there, I don't think peace can exist sometimes, and maybe most of the time, the more that I'm thinking about judgment, because, and I'm just thinking this out, y'all. So I'm not saying that I have it totally under wraps, but if judgment exists, then does peace exist? You understand what I'm saying? And I want to say a knee-jerk reaction and say, no, it doesn't exist. You know what I'm saying? But I have to think about that. And everybody that's online, I got to think about that a little bit. Yeah. That that was something in my mind. Go ahead, G. You was thinking something?
No, you
I think
Yeah.
what helps me is looking at my children. Like everyone who's been around children knows that they do things without thinking.
Yeah.
And I used to ask, why would you do that? And then one day, who was it? Probably my mom. She's like, you can't ask them why. She said, they're children. And I'm like, okay. So that helps me understand.
Yeah.
And then, so it helped me be more compassionate to myself. Like, someone helped me with this. They said, observe the feeling. Like, I think somebody said it earlier. I think you might have said it. Observe the feeling, name it, and if you can, name it aloud. That helps you to not go down that path. And
wow.
so when you name it, you can observe it because you're like, okay. Like we were talking about metacognition, the thought. I have this thought that just popped in my head. It's something that I don't, like you said, try not to judge it. So I have this thought of, oh, it's icy outside. How about that? It's icy outside. I see somebody walking. I'm like, oh, that would be funny if they fall. Instead of me judging myself, like, instead of saying, why would I think that either? Like, okay, it's icy. I could fall too.
Yeah, right.
Turn it back to myself, something like that. And then just keep walking.
Yeah.
And then have some compassion, because then now that this is funny that I said that, because the other day when it was icy, then I almost fell, but I didn't. It was one of those like, and then it was at Target, and the lady was like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "You know what? I am." And we laughed about it, and it just kept on going.
Yeah.
So the thoughts I'm thinking about, you said when I was having when I was able to say what was really on my mind. And you said, well, if you dwell on those thoughts, you can actually create that. So with the ice slipping thing, the thought that I had, or that you could have, like if somebody was going to fall or whatever, when it comes to you at a certain time in life, when you're merciful, here we go with Jesus again, when you're merciful toward yourself, the mercy is easy to give to somebody else. And then maybe, I don't know, but it's possible I didn't fall because of observing the thought and just letting it go instead of dwelling on the thought and then becoming vindictive and be like sitting there watching, waiting for somebody to fall.
Yeah. Right.
Drinking your coffee.
For the record, if y'all fall on the ice, I'm gonna laugh. I just want to.
So there's that joke. There's that joke that said, you're old if you're young when you fall and everybody laughs.
Yep.
And you're old if everybody.
It's like, right.
Yeah.
They ain't gonna recover.
Right. That is hilarious. I think that's a really good point. Being able to observe thoughts like that with compassion for ourselves, without judgment. Thinking like you said, why would you think that? That was mean. That was like you can even say that, and then you just be like, that's a mean thought. That's not the type of thought that I would like to have. As opposed to
that's good.
Being critical of your own self. You can say about a thought like, I don't. That's not me. Yeah. That's not the type of person I am that would laugh at someone else's misfortune. And then let that go. Yeah.
That's the next step in the process. Name it
and claim it.
To name it without feeling it or fighting it, without feeling it or fighting it.
Yes.
Then look for thinking traps. And that's what you said right there. Made me. So look for the thinking trap, and then don't walk into it. Yes.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I love the fact that you said calling it out loud, because that's essentially forced observation. It forces it proves that you've observed
for yourself.
Yeah, for your own self. one thing that you mentioned, E, with regard to judgment and not being, and like you said, with judgment there can't be peace. I think that's
well.
What you said.
I didn't want to. Okay, let me make sure I'm clear. I wasn't trying to put an absolute. I might have snuck an absolute in there, but I didn't really want to make an absolute. Absolute. But go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So I think that when you think about what comes naturally after a judgment, it's usually sentencing, right? In just the natural world.
That's good.
When we judge ourselves, we sentence ourselves to whatever punishment we can think of, whether that is feeling ashamed or being angry or upset or sad or heartbroken or we might physically punish ourselves. We may bed rot for a little longer, or we may distract ourselves with our phones for a little longer because we're kind of in our heads or whatever. We might start an argument with our spouse because we're not feeling great. We set these punishments or these sentences up for ourselves when we judge the thoughts that we have or the thoughts that somebody else has. But once we learn how to release that need to judge, then we start to make more progress. And that progress brings about things like peace and patience and more compassion and mercy and things, grace and things like that.
One thing I want to, can we switch gears for a little bit? All right, so one thing
That's me.
Well, it's your word, so I didn't, you brought the word up, so I think it's great. One thing that I do is I want the stifling of curiosity. So when one, in their mind, they have an invention or they have an idea or whatnot, and they thoroughly thought it through. Whether it's good or bad, it doesn't matter. But they thought this through. Their curiosity is stifled. What does that do to an individual? Of discouraging and different things like that. I think I would love to encourage more people to use their curiosity and creativity because it's God given. But we know that in certain circles, and I don't have to voice it or anything like that, that curiosity mode and creativity mode is stifled. And even if you bring up the word metacognition, it's negatively looked upon. When metacognition, at its purest form, is something that God has given us to do. Yeah. So when you're unable to utilize what God has built in us to use, then how can someone be creative? Creativity and metacognition goes together. So if you're stifling creativity, you're not even utilizing and exercising what you said earlier about exercising that muscle. You can't even go there if you're not creative. Or am I saying that right?
If you stifle your creativity.
Yeah. How can you even absorb? That's one thing that I don't like is being a lemming. And the thing is like what we find ourselves in society is almost like, in, up, out, in, up, this rinse, cycle, repeat type of thing, right? And I'm hitting the mic. But I think you guys understand what I'm saying, that I think the society that we find ourselves in, a 9-to-5 job, you're not even able. You're not even, because I wanted to get away from the negative side, but I'm still in the negative side. I'm trying to get away from the judgment side, but I'm trying to get to the creative side of metacognition. How do we teach people in a world that's trained to not even go beyond the primary thought? You understand what I'm saying? Did that make sense? All right, I know that's kind of weird, y'all, but that's kind of where my mind is at. Is that too hard of a question?
I don't think so necessarily. I do think, though, that there are certain things that can't be taught. Yeah. There are certain things that can only come about through time and experience and exposure.
Yeah.
A person being able to access their God-given creativity, like you can teach a person to maybe hone those skills.
I agree with that.
But if somebody is, when you say stifling, what are you referring to?
Let me try to be a little clearer with that. I'm sorry, y'all, because once again, this one is fresh, and I haven't had really a lot of time to really think it all the way through, right? But I was thinking about like I was just thinking about within the confines of metacognition, where, and I don't know, I think I'm mixing two things up, but I was thinking about how do you nurture? Because a parent nurtures their child in some type of way, right? Mm-hmm. But we say that I can't get to it, y'all. I gotta apologize. I can't get to it right now.
All good. So
yeah.
Here's a thought that I'm having. In order to tie metacognition to creativity, in my opinion, we have to start with understanding honesty, because both of those things require an extreme and maybe even uncomfortable amount of honesty. In order to be an effective creative, you have to be honest. You have to be able to express honestly, whether that's writing or music or some other form of art, or even a lot of people don't think about it, but building a business is exercising creativity. Building a mass network of relationships and things like that, all of that requires creativity, because you have to be able to build on what you know about, human nature, for instance, and use creative avenues to connect with this person because he's this way, and connect with that person because he's that way, and connect with this person because she's that way. It requires creativity to be able to navigate those spaces. It requires honesty to be able to open myself up enough to even accept who you are, so that I can respond in kind.
That's great.
It requires honesty for me to be able to write a verse or write a poem or write a score, or because in order to express myself in a way that is completely unique from something that anybody else can create, that's creativity, I have to be honest about what I'm feeling, what I want to express.
Yeah.
By the same token, metacognition requires honesty, because if I think about my thoughts without honesty, then I start to be in denial. Like you said, if I don't accept it, if I don't accept it, I can't address it. Or like you said, there are certain things that I might hold on to and start to judge because I'm not honest about who I am as a person. I'm not honest about all of the parts of me. It's easy for us to be honest about the best, brightest, shining parts of ourselves that we show the world, but there are parts of ourselves, each of us, that no other living human being will ever see. You guys have been married for how long?
It'll be 18 years. 18
years, and there are still things within your mind that your wife doesn't know, and vice versa. But that's because those are the parts of ourselves that we may not even be honest with ourselves about, let alone express that to another living. Because how might you look at me if you knew this deepest, darkest thing that that I've been ignoring for 20, 30, years, Accessing those parts of ourselves with honesty is the shadow work that we were talking about. And without even revealing those things, I'm not saying that we got to talk to everybody about everything. But what I am saying is that if we can't address it with ourselves, then we're never going to be honest enough to be as creative as we can be.
All right. I think you've covered. You was about to say something.
You covered enough. Go ahead, sit down.
I was gonna say that's where prayer comes in.
100%.
Because you should be able to be honest with who already knows your thoughts, but of course that's another conversation too. And then that's where the confession comes in for the healing of the rest of the process. And you don't have to confess, like you said, to any and everybody.
Right.
You'll my dad used to say, you'll know who you can trust with whatever. I don't remember what he said, but you'll know who you can trust. And maybe he was talking about this. I don't know.
Maybe. That's a really good point. As you become more honest with yourself, you definitely can get a better gauge for how other people are being honest.
Yeah. And then if you just confess to the wrong person, you'll learn something.
Yeah, that's right.
That's true.
That's right. You'll learn either support or betrayal.
Yeah. So going back to the very good points, y'all. I do want to clear up because I knew I kind of had a brain fart right there for a second.
Right.
By the way, I hope I didn't. I'm sorry, let me cut you off. I hope I didn't overstep by saying, you and your spouse with
That's all right.
shadow principles.
We're turning 18. That's 18-year-olds have issues sometimes.
yeah, we're teenagers, right?
We were talking about that the other day.
Angst.
Yeah. So one thing that I was thinking about, the stifling, because you said, what do you mean by stifling? That lets me know that I'm still struggling with judgment. All right, because if I'm allowing someone to stifle me, that means that in some form I've in a weird way that I've allowed someone to do something, give me a thought. They've given me a thought, right? And so that's why I think it's very important. This word is very important, because once you remove judgment and you become a free thinker, right, then that creativity part will be easier to produce and perform. So I started thinking about, I use the word examine and I use the word evaluate. That's still judgment. I got to remove, those are the things. Observation, like you said earlier, is the better tool for metacognition, because if I'm examining and if I'm evaluating, that means that I've done testing, right? Testing is parts of judgment in that, and maybe there's a residue of that career, so to speak, that's in my psyche that I have to kind of put in check, put like that. I know judgment it's hard not to judge, right? But at least for a growth aspect, judgment won't allow me to grow in that capacity.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
I think so.
What
But
about?
go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, what about judgment in itself is not. I would say final judgment is where there's an issue, but we make judgments all the time.
Correct.
So we just can't get stuck. It's important not to get stuck.
I agree. I think that I was going to actually say something very similar.
Okay.
I think that there is a degree of evaluation that is necessary in terms of like behaviors and things like that. What I meant when I'm obviously even in evaluation, maybe it's not obvious. Even in evaluation, I think that judgment and evaluation are separate. Is in my mind. I think that if I'm evaluating a behavior of mine, or if I'm evaluating a thought that seems to come across more often than other thoughts that I don't like, or that I'm not a fan of this particular thought or whatever, I can evaluate that pattern of thought. I can evaluate the behavior that comes from when I accept that thought, things like that. And I can say to myself, that's not particularly who I want to become, the guy that follows this path, or the guy that accepts or grabs onto this thought and holds it. I can still say that without judging the thought or myself for having done it in the past, or having, or having that thought come across. Does that make sense? Like, judgment is calling it good or bad. Evaluating is just seeing whether or not it's something that I want, whether or not it's something that's benefiting, whether it's not it's working for the goals that I'm trying to do. Like, that's an evaluation. Judgment is saying this is either good or bad or right or wrong, which I think is a little less important when we're talking about growth and progress. Growth and progress is more along it's less about good and bad and right and wrong, and more about whether this is moving me on the path that's towards my goal, or whether it's diverting me to be someone who I don't want to become.
Yeah, I gotta, like, that's fresh, so I gotta deal with that a little bit.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying?
And it's just my understanding of it.
No, I'm not saying that I agree or disagree with it at all. It's just something I'm gonna have to.
It's like,
You said,
I said you better. No,
right, or else.
Right.
So, no, this is good. Yeah, let me think about that part of that. G, you got something, man. You've been quiet, man. Yes, you do. I know. I see everything, the green highlights.
Yeah, you got all these pages of notes. Come on, bless us with something. Bless us with an A and B selection.
No, I didn't really have anything extra to add, man. You all recovering it. Yeah. I think that, and we talked about this the other day too. just as far as like where your attention and your energy goes, right? Wherever you put your attention, it's like you're giving that thing permission to exist.
Yes.
So when you are faced with a situation where, again, you encounter something that you don't like, it's like you said, you don't have to go down the line of, I don't like this, I don't like this. You know, you can just focus on what it is that you do want to be and become preoccupied and obsessed with what you do want to be. And when you find behaviors or thoughts that are contrary to it, you just turn towards, okay, this is what I want to be, and you keep pushing in that direction without having to judge, without having to hate or punish yourself or beat up on yourself. Just stay obsessed and focused on what it is that you want, what it is that you want to be, and you keep walking in that direction, right? It's like everything else works itself out in that path, I think.
Yeah, that's interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Any final words, anybody? I don't have any because I'm still working on a couple of things in my brain.
I think one thing I maybe will leave as a final thought is, especially as we're talking about becoming aware of your thoughts, is to have that ability to be, you know, again, not like a, you know, like we talked about, like just, you know, not to review and reflect on your thoughts as if it's something evil, but it is okay to ask sometimes whether that thought is yours or not.
Yes.
Right?
Very good.
Because in realizing that there is, again, that opportunity for the free will of others to direct our lives, right? So without asking in judgment, but asking, does that thought come from me or is that from somebody else? And then diving into where did that thought come from?
That's the evaluation.
Yeah. See, now I agree with that.
Yeah,
I
because
agree with
that concept kind of led me to some big changes too. Just thinking about like, okay, having an idea, thinking for myself to have an idea of what I want it to be, and then evaluating that against some of the things I was told to be. And when I realized those two didn't line up, that was a, I'm not going to call it a traumatic moment, but it was impactful. Very good way to say it. It's very impactful. So it's work, but it's work that's worth it, right? And being able to be honest with yourself and say, I'm in a situation or I'm referring to or aligning with a mindset or a group or whatever. It's okay to ask, does this group, does this mindset really fit with my ideal perception of myself? And if it's not, you got to ask yourself, is that beneficial for you to be there, right? Is that really the thing that's going to get you across the finish line at your goal? And to have that mindset and to be careful, because a lot of us have very common insecurities, and you have some people that are predatory and know how to feed on those insecurities and manipulate you for them. So that's why, again, it's important to be able to face up to your shadow work and yourself in a very honest way, because if you don't address these things, there's people who are very skilled in knowing how to hone in on insecurities and to manipulate people. And again, take them down paths that's not really their ideal or their goal. So just be careful. As you know, we're talking about this word because being able to step back and look at your thoughts is an important step in your own growth, but also in your own protection, your own free will, and shaping, you know, the person that you want to be. Right.
I agree. And then I would take it one step further. In addition to people who introduce that kind of poison intentionally, there are just as many, if not more, people who would offer that poison unintentionally, simply because they've accepted it for themselves without realizing it.
Absolutely right.
And so when we hear people that will share their doubts when we are expressing an idea, like you mentioned before, you know, an idea that you've thought through from beginning to end, and you're excited about it, and you feel like you're expressing your creativity, and when you get ready to, let's say, share that with other people, maybe you get somebody that expresses a doubt, maybe even what in their mind might be for your own good, or might mean, you know, something that they're saying to be helpful or whatever. Sometimes we experience those things and it's poison, but it's just because, you know, that's something that they just don't know is poisonous. But here's where it comes. It's imperative for us to be aware of the things that we agree to. And so if somebody shares a doubt with you, you make a choice. You mentioned the word a little bit ago, allow. If I allow somebody to, and that's the exact word, because nobody has the authority to diminish you or stifle you at all. There's not a single human being alive that can do that. The only person that can diminish you is you. The only person that can diminish or stifle me is me. And if you say something to me that is stifling or diminishing, I have to choose whether or not I have the option to choose whether or not I'm going to accept that. Yeah. And if I accept it, then I have accepted it, and now I have to deal with that. But if I choose to let it pass, it's just like me sitting in the water, and that thought rushes by just like the rest of my thoughts. And I don't have to acknowledge it. I can observe it without judgment and let it pass. You know?
Very good, man. That's good.
That's just Ethan's thought. He doesn't mean any harm by it, or maybe he does mean harm by it. But either way, I don't have to accept it.
Right. Man, that's some growth right there, man. That's what I'm talking about. I love it.
Yes.
I love it. And it can, if I could just add this one thing for me is I had a mentor that told me during my studies, and you know, when it comes to music, you're constantly thinking. Music is math. Music is rhythms. It's vibration. It's frequency. It's everything, right? And he said, number one thing is to be kind to yourself. And I absolutely love that, right? I think a lot of times in our lives, we forget to be kind even in our deepest thoughts that we have and the shadow work that we have. We still got to remember there's a growth period. And I would encourage anybody, like, one of my favorite studies when I was in college was sociology and psychology. I absolutely loved them. So when you brought up all the minds of the time, like Sigmund Freud and Carl, Jung and all these guys, man, these guys were thinkers. You know what I mean? And when you see Carl Jung in his older days, he just looked at peace. You know, and I value that. I really value my peace. You know what I'm saying? And I value my thoughts. I like my thoughts. But the judgment thing is something I'm going to work on. Anybody want to close?
Sure. Tamara,
you got it?
What you said, be kind to yourself.
Yes.
There's an end to when you look at your emotions, self-compassion and soothe.
I like it.
And that was something learning from children.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's a good point.
Well, we are signing out, everyone. This was the word Meta-cognition. Look it up. Practice it. And if you get afraid, don't call it. No, but we enjoy it. This is Let Your Words Count. Please like, share, subscribe. Mike already gave the shout outs and where you can reach us, find us, and God bless you.
If you get afraid, seek support.
Seek support.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's really good. We're here.
Yeah,
send us in the comments. Reach out to us individually. Yeah.
Oh yeah. All right. God bless you. Bye.